So the first part of this strategy is going to be to pick your points to calculate the slope. And you can pick your points on any part of this line. I'll pick the beginning and end points. And then we're going to calculate the slope with these points. Now what I'm doing here is I'm labeling them points 1 and 2. We read the graph from left to right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the slope using the point slope formula, which is m is equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. And this leaves us with 0 divided by 7, and anytime you divide 0 by a number, it's going to be 0 as long as it's in the numerator. Now as we can see here, since with the horizontal lines, the y values are always constant, your numerator is always going to be 0 because you're going to have the same values of y subtracted from each other. And so if the numerator is always 0, then that means your slope is always going to be 0. Now with our vertical lines, we're going to use the same strategy as we do with all of our line graphs, and that is we're going to pick our points to calculate the slope. So I took one at the bottom here and one at the top. Now with those x's and y values, I'm going to use the point slope formula in order to calculate the slope. And what you're going to see is that we get a 0 in the denominator, which you cannot divide by 0. Now when it comes to the vertical lines, because your x values are the same, you are going to always have a denominator of 0. And having a denominator of 0 is dividing a number by 0. Now the issue with dividing by 0 is that it creates a contradiction that can be shown algebraically. Now let's say we take 1 and we divide it by 0, and we say that that number is equal to, well, x. Now imagine, and I want you to think about x really as any number. It could be anything. Now imagine we decided to isolate for 1. Well, you would move the 0 over to the other side. Now since it's being divided by 0, when it goes to the other side, it will be multiplied by 0. And so then we would have 1 is equal to x times 0. And anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. And the issue with that is, once we solve this equation, our final relation would say 1 is equal to 0. And that's a false statement. 1 is 1. It's actually not anything else. And so this kind of reveals one of the contradictions that we have when we divide something by 0. And so we cannot divide or have a denominator of 0 because it would lead to something that is impossible. Now the math word for impossible is undefined, which means that there is no value that would actually exist. And we could see that 1 would never equal 0, nor would any other number equal 0.